Welcome in. We are the Bourbon Brothers, and this is the Liquid Courage Show. We have another great show on deck for you tonight. But first, I want to introduce the other half of the Bourbon Brothers. He is my brother from another mother. He is my co-pilot on this Ford Fairmont joyride we call a show. Ken, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How about yourself? I'm totally pumped.
I am too. I've been looking forward to tonight's show all week. So let's jump right in. If you are new to the show, the format is simple. First, we kick things off with a tasting and discussion of a spirit, usually a bourbon, and we will continue to enjoy said spirit throughout the remainder of the show. As for the remainder of the show, we'll focus on a specific episode of a favorite television series where we will start with the pilot and work our way through episode by episode to the series finale. Tonight, we will be discussing Season 1, Episode 5 of Kurt Sutter's Sons of Anarchy, titled Giving Back. For those of you that are watching the show on YouTube, I want to let you know that we published this show in 3 parts. You are currently watching Part 1, which will cover the bourbon tasting, and Parts 2 and 3 will be the discussion of the episode. So please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a single show. Also, if you don't want to look at our ugly mugs or you prefer to listen in the car or the office, you can also subscribe to the podcast version of the show. And you can find that at iTunes, Stitcher, and just about any other favorite location where finer podcasts are available. Also, we want to hear from you. Send us your praise, your questions, your hate comms. Let us know how we're doing, what you like, what you dislike, and what you'd like to see more of. You can leave your comments in the comments section of the show, or you can email your questions to us at ask@bourbonbros, that's BROS.TV. And if your question doesn't suck, we might even answer it on a future show. And with that out of the way, let's kick this sucker off. Ken, what are we drinking tonight?
Well, we selected it last week, but we're going with the Russell's Reserve 10-year Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. This is it.
Yes, and I ask you every week like I don't know. But yes, we chose the Russells, and I'm glad that we did. This is, I really enjoy the Russell's Reserve 10-year.
Yeah, and as you can see, I've had this before. You turned me on to it,
Yep.
and I got a dent in the bottle, but I'm looking forward to getting back into it. So
Great. Well, let's pop that cork where we can hear it. Love that sound. While you pour, I'll kind of go through the fun facts here, or I should say the basic facts and details. So as you said, Russell's Reserve 10-year bourbon. I don't know what it was for you. I think I paid $38 for the bottle, which I find actually a pretty decent price for a 10-year.
Yeah, about the same out here, maybe a little more because we are very tax happy in PA.
Yes. But figure somewhere around that $38, $40 range. It is a straight bourbon. This is out of Wild Turkey Distillery, which is owned by Campari Group. Most people are familiar with Wild Turkey, but may not know that Russell's actually comes out of Wild Turkey. Release date's ongoing. It's a 90 proof bourbon. So just a tad lower than your kind of typical 93 and a half proof. But it has been aged 10 years, and the mash bill, 75% corn. So I think you're going to like this one, Ken.
Yeah, yep. I'm excited.
13% rye, 12% malted barley.
Okay.
Now, before we raise a glass, I'm just going to give you a real quick, this is a short summary, but I think it's always nice to have a little description of this before we taste it. So Russell's Reserve 10-year is part of Wild Turkey's Russell's Reserve line, and it's named in honor of Jimmy and Eddie Russell. It's a father-son team, their master distiller team, and they have a combined tenure at Wild Turkey in excess of 100 years.
Wow, they've been around.
So we've got a father-son duo that know how to make some bourbon, and this is their 10-year version of that bourbon. So should we raise a glass?
Sure, I'm ready.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, great flavor.
It's really nice. The first thing that hits me is you get a really nice balance between the sweetness from that high corn percentage, but you also get a lot of that char and that smoke. It's not just sweet, but it's also not just real oaky, and it's a nice balance between the two.
Right. And it burns clean. It
It
follows
burns
up with
clean, Ken.
it, it follows up with that, your chest feels open. A great description.
That medicinal quality.
Yeah, for sure.
I, I think I tend to lean towards bourbons like this because, like you, I think I do like some of the sweetness that you get off of a high corn, but I also like the layers of flavor and the complexity that you get with the additional aging, and it gives it a nice balance.
That oak flavor.
Mm-hmm.
It, so they actually write, they claim 10 years, so it has to be 10 years.
A minimum of 10 years, yeah.
Minimum of 10.
And I generally try to share like some fun facts or some neat stories about the origin or history. And there's really not any kind of exciting history or stories that I could find. The one thing I did find that I thought was interesting, and I would put myself in this same camp, most of the people that have either tried and shared their thoughts on Russell's or has done a review on Russell's, a large percentage of them had said that they had seen Russell's in the store and for whatever reason just passed it by and never really kind of tried it. And then when they finally did, whatever kind of finally got them there, they were very impressed at the smooth and complex flavors. And that's exactly what happened with me. I've seen this many times. I've never bought a bottle. And then I think as I had shared with you and I recommended it, I was out on a trip and went into this little country store that only had, I think, 5 different bottles of bourbon. And this looked like the best one. And the fact that it was a 10-year at a decent price, I picked it up. And yeah, I was impressed. So impressed that I finished the bottle and had to go buy another one so we could do the show tonight.
Good problem to have. I mean, the bottle, it's a nice looking bottle. They put it together well. And
yeah, it doesn't have
well.
that kind of nostalgia feel of like the Bullet bourbon bottle. There's nothing especially unique like the Basil Hayden's bottle with that apron label that we talked about last year, but it's a nice looking bottle.
Yeah. Now, last week you mentioned that there was a tie with this bourbon back to another bourbon that we tried in the past.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. So I think you're going to like this, Ken.
Okay.
So I believe this is the first 10-year bourbon that we've tried.
You're probably right.
But we do have another 10-year bourbon that's on our list and is coming up soon.
Okay.
Do you remember what it is?
No.
The Eagle Rare.
I almost said it. I didn't realize it was a 10. Eagle Rare. Okay.
So this is the one thing I found in researching Russell's 10-year. It is rumored that Wild Turkey created this specifically to compete with the Eagle Rare, which is also a 10-year. And if you were to look at the Eagle Rare versus the Russells, they're both 10-year bourbons, and they both have the same proof. They're both 90 proof bourbons, and they're roughly sold at the same price point.
Interesting. And who makes Eagle Rare again?
I believe that comes out of Buffalo Trace.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting to do the tasting of the Eagle Rare and see how we like it, since we like this 10-year bourbon so much. But what I wanted to propose is once we do the Eagle Rare tasting, on another future show, we should put the Russells and the Eagle Rare side by side and do a tasting of both and compare.
That's a great idea.
I think a little comparison would be fun.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do it.
Before we wrap up and to give ourselves a chance to enjoy a little bit more of this Russell's 10 year, should we hit the mailbag with a couple of questions that didn't suck?
Yeah, as long as they didn't suck. At least initially here, we're just, 5 or 6 shows in. Even if your questions do suck, we might read them on the air, but that won't last long.
Yeah, I think you've got your best shot of getting your question on the show right now. And as Ken said, it really probably doesn't matter whether it sucks or not. But I do have 2 questions that I chose that sucked a little less than the others. The first one comes from Steve S., and he asks, do either of you ride motorcycles? And if so, what do you ride? So I guess that comes from the fact that we're doing Sons of Anarchy, right?
Yeah, it very well be.
It's I'm actually a little surprised that after all of our time on two wheels, you don't ride motorcycles. You have in the past, but you don't actively ride.
Right. I mean, I can answer that. I'd kill myself. I know that. I suck, and I electively decided that's not something that I'm going to be good at. Something will happen. I electively do not ride. I'll dabble in off-road, but I don't ride street bikes.
Yeah, and I on the other hand do. I've been riding motorcycles since the age of 7. Started with dirt bikes, still do dirt bikes, and then got into street bikes. So I don't own one now, but I have owned a Harley. I owned a 2005 Road King Classic. I also had a KTM Duke that was just kind of a fun play bike. I don't have either of those anymore because they burned.
Yes, they did.
Along with everything else I own. But I now have a Yamaha Tracer 900 GT, which is kind of a sport touring bike. And I also have a 2018 Yamaha YZ 450. So both street and dirt. And but that's not really why we like the show. It really is the quality writing and acting.
True.
And then Jen J asked, where in California did you two grow up?
Oh, yeah.
So I think we had referenced it in a previous video that we were both from California. So that's an astute viewer there. Ken, you want to take that one?
Yeah. Southern California, little town. It's a little south of Santa Barbara. Everyone knows Santa Barbara and everyone knows Malibu. And Ventura is where we're from, and that's kind of right there in the middle.
Yes.
Ventura, California.
Yes. Both from Ventura. And you relocated to the state of Pennsylvania, what, 22 years ago?
Yeah, that's exactly right. 98.
So there you go, Jen. Ventura, California. All right. So that's it for mailbag. Ken, any final thoughts on Russell's before we move on?
No, I'm just looking forward to enjoying it to the next next sections of our show, and nothing further to add. Let's get to it.
All right. So that's going to do it for part 1. Next, we're going to get into our discussion of Sons of Anarchy, Season 1, Episode 5, titled Giving Back. Please remember to like and subscribe. Please check out our channel for more episodes. But more importantly, top off your glass, come along and join us for part 2. It's all coming up next on the Liquid Courage Show. Stay with us.